Welcome back to the broadcast. The COVID pandemic has certainly brought hardships to many Americans, including people of faith. Evangelicals have seen an increase in anti-Christian bigotry, while Jews have experienced rising anti-Semitism. Reverend Johnny Moore and Rabbi Abraham Cooper share their concerns about these problems on this week's episode of The Global Lane. Rabbi Cooper describes the treatment of New York's Orthodox Jewish community during the pandemic as, quote, deeply distressing.
It's a situation that in many ways has spiraled out of control because of a failure of leadership. Before COVID, we already had a spike in violent anti-Semitic crimes in the New York area, the area that has the largest number of American Jews. Shocking attacks, and then came the virus and everything else that we've been dealing with. When I say failure of leadership, let me be perfectly blunt. It's from the top of the political leadership of not showing sensitivity, especially to Orthodox Jews, around the fact that their synagogues and schools are central to their lives. But it's also, frankly, a failure of leadership of elements of the leaders of the Orthodox community, meaning we don't need, I live in LA, we don't need a governor or a mayor to say, put on a mask or make sure you're socially distant. A fundamental of Jewish law is if your life is in danger, or if, God forbid, you could even coincidentally maybe put someone else's life in danger, take the necessary steps to do so. We all need to do more. But on the other hand, for the governor and the mayor and other leaders in New York to talk about the power of Orthodox Jews and to take particular and sometimes singular focus only on a particular faith community is deeply distressing. And so in that sense, we don't really have I think, to point to leaders who've gotten this right. And at the same time, the Wiesenthal Center has spoken out when Christian churches have been targeted during the course of the riots that are associated in the aftermath of what happened in Minneapolis, the murder of an innocent man by a policeman.
How concerned are you, Johnny, about the continued erosion of religious liberty right here in the USA during and even possibly to come after the pandemic?
Well, you expect these things from an obscure professor at some university, but when the New York Times, barely into the pandemic, runs a headline that says the road to coronavirus hell was paved by evangelicals, I don't care how you cut it. That's just bigotry. It is absolute bigotry. And the fact of the matter is that the evangelical church, at the height of the pandemic, not only was shutting down the churches and moving online and taking appropriate measures, but was in fact disseminating information to millions and millions of people. Evangelicals were getting more information than the media itself to our communities of millions. You know, but this is really simple. In the United States of America, it is appropriate at certain points, as in many, many months ago, to restrict freedom for the public good, but you have to do it equitably. Probably the most glaring example was in Nevada, where you could have a casino at 50% capacity, but you couldn't have more than 50 people in a church. And this is why it is so incredibly important that we build these broad coalitions to say, you can have your political fights all you want. We celebrate it in the United States of America. We love the marketplace of ideas. But when you touch the First Amendment, we're all coming out in force to vote. And we are never, ever going to let it go. And you let it go by 1 inch, and it's not long before you've given a mile.
Well, after reading your book, I think the takeaway for me was speak up, be a voice. Don't just sit and be silent about what is happening, whether it be in Nigeria or right here in the USA. Okay, the book is The Next Jihad, Stop the Christian Genocide in Africa. The Reverend Johnny Moore, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, thank you both for sharing your time and insights today.
You can also see Reverend Moore and Rabbi Cooper discuss genocide in Nigeria on the Global Lane tonight at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News.